Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Matthew Thornton. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a licensed professional counselor. And today we're going to talk about sabotage. Have you ever been in a situation where you're trying to improve your life in some way, but you maybe do something to sabotage yourself? Or maybe you've got friends or family that inadvertently sabotage your attempts to try to improve their relationships. You may be facing this at work sometimes where you're trying to institute some changes that will help everyone, but you're just facing sabotage at every front. So we're going to talk about a concept that's going to help you understand why that's happening and maybe what you can do about it. Now, what you're seeing as sabotage could actually be a natural human process called homeostasis. Homeostasis simply means same state, or kind of keeping things static or the way that they are. And this is a process that's important for us as human beings. It keeps our sense of identity intact as we're relating to other people. Families have a sense of who they are, where they begin and end, how they respond and act as a group and as a family. We see this in organizations in terms of their corporate culture as well. That homeostatic process is in play that kind of keeps that same feel regardless of where you go in the organization. There is that sense of culture and sameness that happens with it. Now, it doesn't exclude diversity at all, but it does kind of keep some parameters around things. You see this on a large scale with societies in terms of the way we set up laws and systems as well. And so there are those processes in place that kind of keep our behavior within a certain boundaries. And that is completely normal and natural and is actually beneficial in a lot of ways. It keeps us from harming ourselves or others. There's a lot of great benefits to having this sort of homeostasis in our families, and even for ourselves. It kind of gives us a sense of routine and what's going to happen next. It's some predictability that's there with homeostasis. Now, the problem comes in when maybe you want to do something different for yourself. Maybe you're wanting to break outside of those norms of the way things always have been, whether that's for yourself personally or in a relationship with someone else or with your child. When you start to do something different, we're going to go outside those lines a little bit. The natural tendency, what happens at that point, is there is going to be pressures put on that change, on that difference, to correct it. Now, this could be as simple as when you were growing up and you were maybe acting up in church, and that is not what is okay for your family. Your grandmother giving you a look, and you know exactly what that means, and you're back in line, back within that homeostasis of what you should be doing, and you're learning where those boundaries are. That could be as simple as, like, maybe you are doing something, with your spouse, and they're like, "Oh, what's up with that?" And just that subtle sort of response kind of brings you back into check. And so, okay, I'm going to do this a little differently. I'm going to be back normal where I was before. And that's a natural tendency. And like I said, the problem comes in when you really want to make sure to do something different, when you're intentional about wanting to change something and you start to feel these pressures. Now, what happens in systems is oftentimes it's that anxiety builds. When something new is introduced, there's a sense of stress and anxiety. Why is this happening? What's going on? Things should be back the way that they are. And that is a natural sort of tendency in all groups and organizations, is to have that sense of anxiety when things change, to kind of keep things back the way that they are. So what do you do about it when you're trying to make a change in your life and you're coming up against some of these really challenging pressures of anxiety that are pushing you back to the way things were? And that is really what's happening in sabotage. Sometimes that can be intentional, where people are trying to correct you and bring you back into check. Other times it can be unintentional. It's just a natural process that they're not doing it maliciously, but that anxiety builds, or maybe they just see something or say something that kind of puts you back into that state of, oh, maybe I should be doing things the way that I always have. And we're going to look at what you can do when that takes place. So what do you do in the face of sabotage? When you have decided to make an intentional change in your life and you want to see something different, but you're coming up against these resistant homeostatic processes and feedback from your family members, maybe your partner, those in your community, you're seeing that sort of sabotage happen. Maybe you're even doing that with yourself some. What do you do in those moments? Well, let's talk through an example. Maybe you decide that you want to go back to school and take some classes to improve yourself, but you're getting some flack around that. You're getting some flack from your partner about the time that that's going to take away from your family or from your relationship. You may be getting some flack from extended family or other family members where it's like, is this going to take you away from us? Are you going to think you're better than we are? Or are you going to get a job somewhere else and be too far away and we won't be able to see you anymore? You hearing things like that in that attempt to change and improve yourself. Now, if we react to that, we can have sort of critical responses back to those people. We can be reactive. We can feel that anxiety that they have, that insecurity that they have because things are outside of the norm of what they've normally been for the family or for the relationship. And they get reactive and anxious about that. And so they're making these comments, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And then we react to that and have arguments with them, and it really is unproductive. And those are the instances where we throw in the towel, or oftentimes we may give up because it's just too hard with all this criticism and sabotage that's going on. But if we're able to self-regulate in those moments, when we hear that sort of feedback, when we get that sort of comment back from our loved ones or from our partner or those that were in our community, are we able to see it for what it is? Their anxiousness about this change that's about to happen. And I don't have to take that on. I can see where they end and I begin. Now, I may be nervous and anxious about this change as well, but you can respond back to those kinds of criticism and that feedback with a centered response that is focused on what you hope to achieve. I know that this is going to take away time from the family, but it's something that I think is important for me to be able to do something for myself and actually in the end be able to provide better for my family. So your ability to respond in a calm way and self-regulate yourself in those moments is going to be the thing that's going to help you persist in the face of that sabotage. And you can apply that across all kinds of different problems. A lot of times, anytime we're wanting to do something different, there's that sense of anxiety that happens in the family system or in the relationship. And the response is based on that sense of insecurity. If you can center yourself and self-regulate and remind that other person and yourself sometimes that you're doing this intentionally for a reason that is going to improve the whole, and a lot of times you can withstand those pressures. It's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have to do that over and over again because each time you step out and you try to improve or do something different, you're going to see that pressure come. You're going to see those sabotages come. So you have to continually center yourself on what it is that you want to achieve. Understand that sabotage is a natural process and be able to respond to it from a centered place that's focused on what you hope to achieve for your life. I hope this has been helpful to you. If you're a mental health counselor and you want to find out more about this particular way of thinking about change, a lot of these concepts come from Bowen family systems theory, where you're looking at differentiation of self and self-regulation in the face of sort of those anxiety-producing changes that you're wanting to make in your life. If you are someone that is struggling with a mental health concern, I urge you to reach out to a mental health counselor. They can walk you through a process of understanding what it is that you want to improve in your life. What are those pressures that are coming against you that are sabotaging your ability to change? And they can tailor this conversation, this process specifically to your needs. We know that mental health counseling works, but it takes you reaching out in order for us to be able to help you. Now, I'm Dr. Matthew Thornton. I hope that this information has been helpful to you. I go out and make a difference in your life.